profit, but otherwise, all eyes on the US Central Bank. And Richard Hunter, head of equities at Hargreaves Lansdowne, joins us right now on the line from London to speak about that. Richard, good having you. Thanks for joining in. What do you expect the next 3-4 sessions to be a bit sideways by virtue of the fact that there's this FOMC meet slated for next week?
I think you could well be right. If we look at this week as a whole so far, the market seems to be up with events. Obviously, this time last week, the situation in Syria, concerns were that any action being taken were military, whereas it's now looking rather more likely that any action taken will be diplomatic. As such, as we speak, the Dow Jones, for example, is up 2.5% on the week so far, despite having finished slightly down in yesterday's trade. But without question, focus is now turning, as you rightly say, to the Federal Reserve meeting next week, and the likelihood of some kind of tapering, with the current market consensus being that the current monthly $85 billion QE may be reduced to $75 billion, and that's pretty much what the market's starting to factor in. But of course, we won't have that confirmation until we hear from the Fed next week.
Right. Of course, it is going to be the FOMC meet outcome for the global markets. Thanks very much, Richard, for joining in and giving us your opinion. It's a flat start for the European markets with a minor negative bias. Well, let's move away from that and touch base with the management of Emami, who now joins in on the show to talk about the impact of the economic slowdown as well as the input prices. NH Bansali, CEO of Finance Strategy and Business Development of Emami, now joins in live on the show. Mr. Bansali, to start off with, given that the macro environment has been fairly weak for the FMCG industry as a whole, what has been the impact of the economic slowdown on your sales?
It's not that tough for the industry as such, but industry is still growing at around 12 to 15% in between. But the growth has been slowed down. It has from around 17-18% or 20% kind of a growth which was expected. It has come down to an expectation of around 12 to 15%. So there has been a little slowdown in the growth. But that has more to do with the season also, because this year the monsoons had set in earlier. So this also had an impact, and definitely some impact is there for the economy, as you said. So it's already there.
There is a hope that the second half will be better due to the elections and monsoon. What is your outlook on the demand, and are you optimistic of revival coming in the same?
Yeah, we are very optimistic. In fact, the Q3, quarter 3 and quarter 4 consists of winter and the early part of summer. So both the seasons are very important to us, and we expect good growth to come in during this season. And that you rightly said, coupled with a good monsoon which is setting in, so rural demand has also to shoot up. So we expect reasonably good growth to come in the quarter 3rd and quarter 4th.
Mr. Bansali, it's been fairly volatile for the rupee, so run us through what the impact has been of the rupee depreciation on your financials.
We are not a substantial importer, so it really doesn't have that any significant impact so far as on the import side is concerned. But on receivables, exports around our exports constitutes around 10 to 11% of the overall sales. So there would be a marginal gain rather than there could be any negative impact. So it would be for us, it's good in fact.
Are you facing cost pressures as well? We spoke to a peer of yours who admitted to the same. And if so, how do you plan to curtail costs?
Yeah, over a period now the costs have almost stabilized. So there is no pressure as such in the normal curves, but because of the rupee depreciation, the inputs which were related directly to the crude, the packaging material particularly, are somewhat increasing. But then on the other side, there has been some ease on some agri products, kind of mentha oil and others. So on and all, there would not be any pressure on the cost on COGS. In fact, we are expecting a margin improvement on gross margin level on a annualized basis. And besides this, we are also taking care of doing substantial cost reduction across the organization, considering the times which may come up in the next time. So we are looking at doing substantial cost reductions going forward.
What kind of volume growth can we expect from the company for FY14?
See, we are now expecting around 12 to 15% of an overall sales growth, of which we expect a price growth of around 4 to 5%. So rest would be volume growth.
Okay, and are you looking at any acquisitions?
We are always on the lookout for any strategic acquisition. We are always on the lookout, whether be it in domestic market or international. We would do it only when we feel that there is a complete strategic fit. So we are very keen to do an acquisition, but at the same time we would also look for value to the organization. So if we will do any acquisition if there is any value accretive proposition which may come up.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Mr. Bhansali, thanks so much for joining in today and giving us that perspective. So that's Emami with their view on the consumption cycle. Mind you, a couple of reports have come in and spoken about consumption slowing down as well and the impact on some of these companies. You know, what's happened 3 or 4 days back is that the government has laid out some notifications related to the quarterly cycle issues. So R.C. Maheshwari, President of the Commercial Vehicle Business of Bajaj Auto, joins us on the line from Hyderabad. Remember, they would be the ones that would have quite a bit of interest in this. Mr. Maheshwari, good having you. Thanks for joining in. Did you get a chance to look into the government notifications relating to the quarterly cycle?
Yeah, we have gone through that. Yeah.
Okay. And just wondering, what did you make out of that?
Yeah, see, most of these regulations are good, and they're in line with the EU regulations, which are already working for European states.
Right, and most of the analysts are expecting a final notification on the same by the month of October. Is that the consensus with you as well?
Yeah, most of the things are in line with the European standards, and now because these draft notifications have been issued, so obviously what they are expecting from the auto industry or from the NGOs or for anybody else is to seek clarifications or any modifications, any changes which people would suggest, and then they will discuss those changes, and then finally they will put in for the final notification.
So, Mr. Maheshwari, tell me this. A few people that we spoke to mentioned that if indeed the clearances come soon, the final notification, let's say it comes by October, and if you are in a ready position to launch the RE60, how soon can, one, this happen? And two, does it give you almost an uncompetitive or a non-competitive landscape for the first few months or the first 12 months or thereabouts?
You see, first and foremost is that after the notification is final, then the vehicle has to go to ARI for certification. You know, then ARI has to approve the vehicle in line with the notification. And then we have to approach the state governments because it's a public vehicle like any other vehicle. You approach the state governments for their approvals. And then the sale can begin. So I do expect that by the year end, we should be able to begin our sales or latest by the first quarter of next year.
So this is based upon the notification coming in the month of October, right?
Yeah, this is based on the notification coming in the month of October, because after October, then it may take some time for the ARI to certify the vehicle, and after that we have to approach the state governments with the ARI certification that this vehicle is approved, which anyway has to be done for all commercial vehicles. Like normal commercial vehicles also, we have to go through the same process of ARI, and then you go to the state governments for their approval and for their certification or creating the new category in their states. So that's the process which has to be followed. The other part of the question with respect to that, it's definitely a new category altogether, and therefore it would, so to say, redefine the automotive space, because so far the current vehicles which are available in the marketplace, they are general in the sense that they are used for intra as well as intercity operations. And as far as for the vehicles which are meant to be used for intercity operations and they're used for intracity operations, obviously they are over-designed for use for the intracity operations. So this kind of vehicle which you use for intracity operations will be less congesting, and at the same time it emits less emissions. It's almost about 40 to 50%. It is lesser in size. At the same time, it will emit about 40 to 50% lesser greenhouse gas emissions. So it is most appropriate as far as the intracity uses is concerned.
Mr. Maheshwari, before we let you go, run us through what kind of annual sales you're expecting from the R60 post its launch.
You see, as this is a new concept altogether, till the concept, it's innovation, and till the concept is quantitatively shown to people, it is very difficult for me to give a quantitative estimates of that. But qualitatively, as I said, that it is going to redefine the rules in the automotive industry, and therefore, I do expect a good potential. A good potential for such kind of vehicles. Because such kind of vehicles, as on date, do not exist, and it is meant for intracity operations. So it's a new category being developed, which is what qualitatively I suppose that it should give us good volumes.
Leave it at that, Mr. Maheshwari. Thanks so much for joining in and giving us that perspective. Bajaj Auto can't comment a number. You just expect that it will be good for them. Maybe first quarter of the next calendar year is when they might actually launch the RE60, subject to approvals coming in or notification coming in October. Okay, market's doing okay. Let's take a break. In fact, okay, for the Sensex, we are in the red, the Nifty, we are flat. Talk more about the equity markets on the other side with Vinay Khattar, Head of Research, Individual Clients at Edelweiss Financial Services. Of course, Prakash is with us, and we'll get in a final intraday trading idea from him as well.
जब वेंकट एक कदम आगे बढ़ता है
अब वो हिमाचल,
लक्ष्मी लॉन्ग डिस्टेंस का सोचती है और अहमद का बिजनेस गियर बदलता है।
हाँ कपूर साहब, ऑर्डर डबल कर दीजिए।
जिंदगी के हाईवे पे कोई अकेले नहीं बढ़ता। एक्सिस बैंक, बढ़ती का नाम जिंदगी।
Her ambition knows no bounds. In her quiet resolve resides a desire to go against the grain. Meet the women powering Indian business ahead. Presenting the Business Today Most Powerful Women in Indian Business Awards 2013.
Every company, I think, that wants to make progress probably has a mentoring program. But it's really important that the women accept the input.
An award ceremony celebrating the most influential businesswomen in India. Only on ET Now.
Everyone's talking Jaguar new lingo. Your surprisingly distinct Hyundai Grand. The Grand new lingo.
Hyundai.
ऐसे कंपटीशन में फर्स्ट आए हैं सुनील।
Plan India's Saath program creates a one-on-one relationship between a sponsor and an underprivileged child. So be the change for the child and his community.
India's and Asia's largest gear manufacturer, Elecon, gearing the future.
करना पड़ा जॉन, निकलता तो वो लोग मुझे मार डालते।
जो भी लोग हैं बहुत खतरनाक लोग हैं।
Don't worry my child, it will not hurt.
अब मौसम का रुख बदलने वाला है।
इंश्योरेंस खरीदने से पहले कंपेयर कीजिए। policybazaar.com।
पापा का नंदा
You had promised to take me to the park.
Sure, beta. Let's go now.
Oh, again the boring traffic.
No problem. We'll take the new flyover.
Papa, who built the flyover?
I made it, beta.
But how did you?
We pay taxes to the government. And the government makes flyovers, schools, hospitals and many more things for us.